I mean, I was told by my film professor, there are films and there are movies, and sometimes you've got to know what you're walking into.
Yeah. See, but I come from a time when movies were films.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you? You don't know?
Okay, here's the dealio. Here's the agenda for today. Number one, I'm recording this on Tuesday night, and right now it's currently Taco Tuesday. I'm trying to leave here to go get some good tacos from a good place around the corner, but first things first, it's recording this episode on a little film called Civil War. Why are we doing this episode? This late into the year. It's for obvious reasons. Obviously, it's election year in the United States, and for obvious reasons, this film has been trending a teeny bit, so it feels like a better time than ever to dive into it. And this movie did release a while ago, and I guess it did kind of come and go. It did kind of release at a weird time earlier this year, and then we got some, better films. It kind of got lost in the noise of, the Dune Part 2s and also the Deadpool Wolverine, all that fun, crazy films out there. It kind of got lost in all the noise of that, so it kind of went under the radar until a little bit recently. This film's been streaming on Max for a little bit now, and also, like I said, the presidential election happened, so this movie is obviously trending a teeny bit. It's not like trending, like Gladiator 2 is coming out, Wicked's coming out, also Nosferatu and Interstellar release is happening. So this film isn't exactly trending, but still, I've seen it kind of pick up and watches on Letterboxd a little bit. So yeah, for obvious reasons, I'd like to talk about the film here a little bit today. It is a great movie, and also any excuse to have to talk about the film, I'd like to take it. But first things first here, getting all the boring stuff out of the way, talking about this film's release and reception. Like I said, it did release early in the year. It was a little bit of a weird release, but still, this film's title, Civil War, that was big enough to really give it a nice little bit of hype here for really regular going audiences. This is, if I didn't mention, an A24 movie, and A24 is more so known for being the films that's loved by those weird film nerds that like those weird horror movies like Midsommar and Hereditary, which is kind of a weird way to brand A24. My favorite A24 films aren't even all horror. My favorite A24 film, like I always say, is Everything Everywhere All at Once, then Moonlight, then Lady Bird, then Aftersun. None of those four films are horror movies, and obviously at number 5 is Hereditary. So yeah, I do love horror movies in A24, but it's not always has to be defined by just that. Civil War is a very different movie. The one that released on April 26th this year, which, like I said, a little bit of a weird time to release the movie. It did get lost in the noise, like I said, of Dune Part 2, Challengers, a bunch of great movies came out around this time. So yeah, it did make a good amount of money, but still it kind of came and went, kind of got lost in all the noise. But still, this movie did do some good things in the box office. It raked in $126 million against a budget of $50 million. So, as we, like I always say, the movie has to make around 2.5 times its original budget, and that's just around 126.1 million, which can definitely also scale up as we go into physical media and also VOD sales. That can boost up a teeny bit more. So, yeah, the movie was profitable for A24. It was a big win for them. A24 movies in recent memory have been known for being very massive flops. Past Lives from last year is one of the best films in the entire decade, and that one did flop horrendously. I mean, these movies aren't exactly for everyone. They're known for being more niche, specific things, but still, a movie as big as Civil War really did put on the map. It really did make A24 more of an approachable kind of movie for everyone, regardless if you're more of a Transformers guy or if you're a Midsommar guy, you're going to love Civil War like I did. And then box office did very good. It did 126 million, like I said, but over on the critics guide, over on Rotten Tomatoes, we have an 81% critic score and a 70% audience score. That's very even, yet also a little bit weird, that 10% difference there, and also kind of weird that this movie doesn't have that high of a score. I do more so rely on the critic side of things, but as for the audience, I'll touch in a second here why this movie didn't do so good with the audiences like it really could have. Keep it on going here with some reviews from audiences. I do have one review here from the Roger Ebert website. I'll link the full review down there below. We have a full review here from Matt Zoller-Seiss, who gave this film a 4 out of 4 stars. So that's technically like a perfect score for this movie. Definitely understandable, and I definitely appreciate this review. Really does understand just what this film is trying to be, which I definitely appreciate, but others may not. I do have a little small blurb here from his review. I'll leave the full thing down below, like I said. But in the later half of his review here, he said that I've purposely avoided describing a lot of the story in this review because I want people to go into the movie cold, as I did, and experience the movie as sort of a picaresque narrative consisting of set pieces that test the characters morally and ethically, as well as physically, from one day and one moment to the next. And that review really does do a good job there. The story for the movie is, like I said, a little bit controversial. I'll talk about that in a second, but the movie itself is a little bit controversial because it doesn't exactly keep a promise that they made in the marketing, which is always a bad thing. It does feel like almost like a clickbaity kind of movie, and also kind of does betray the audience in a degree, which I definitely understand. But personally, when I critique the film for what it is instead of what I wanted it to be, I love it a lot more. And I do have another review here from Letterboxd. Over on Letterboxd, this film has a 3.6 out of 5 average. And we do have one little review here from Flat Kombucha. Maybe I said that right or wrong, I don't know. I'll leave his review down below as well, but it's a quick one here. Gave the film here a 2.5 out of 5 stars there. Definitely, we don't agree here on the movie in terms of score-wise, but he said in his review, hard to watch this in this current political climate, which is definitely why I'm making this episode here, because the movie's obviously been trending, and for very obvious reasons that we don't need even to talk about right now. This show is very apolitical, but when you start mentioning movies, I think that gives me a little bit of a chance to kind of just go into it a little bit here and talk about what exactly this film did right and wrong and how it can be weaved into politics in my opinion, a right way. And just going into this episode and really the main thesis and analysis of the movie, I'm just going to go through the timeline of my personal experience with the entire movie and exactly what I think is perhaps maybe the film that's kind of impacted me the most in this entire decade. I mean, this movie itself, Civil War, I'm not even that big of a fan of it either. I've seen only 23 films from this year, which is really nothing at all. And this movie ranks at number 9 for me at the moment. So this one is definitely one that I enjoy, one that's gone up as well. I rewatched it this month just for this episode, and it still, in my opinion, holds up as for what it is, like I said. But still, the journey that I've been on with this movie has really been very interesting. It's stuck with me the most, in to a degree. I guess Dune Part 2 has been very up there as well. But really everything, this movie is still been on my mind, mainly because of exactly like I said, the political climate in the United States right now, and just how the movie's going about handling a Civil War movie during this year. It has been very good and also very bad. And I'm just going to quickly go back in time to, I guess I'd say, this movie released in April. So I guess January, February of this year, we have the announcement for a new A24 film called Civil War. And it's going to be A24's biggest film. It may not be, I guess, budget-wise, I have to fact check that. But definitely, outside of budget, really a movie titled A24 being released in America, set in America, during an election year. I think that narratively, and I guess, media-wise, this movie is definitely one of the biggest of the entire year. And I mean, yeah, we have Dune Part 2, we have Challengers, great films, always, but still, a movie titled Civil War being released now, like right now, it's obviously very huge and very big on in terms of expectations people have for it, really also cautious. Will this film divide people more or bring them together? We don't exactly know. And also directing the film is Alec Garland, who did Ex Machina, a pretty good movie. I'm not exactly the biggest Ex Machina fan, but still, that movie has a large cult following. Maybe one day I can join in on that, but for right now, Ex Machina is definitely a very good movie, just not really for me, but I do appreciate Ex Machina. From Ex Machina, you can definitely tell the kind of filmmaker that Alec Garland is, and exactly what he intends to do when he makes a film. So I expected that with him directing Civil War, it wouldn't be as direct as he wanted it to be. Just like how Ex Machina is, I guess you can say, it's supposed to be a Terminator kind of movie, but Ex Machina isn't really direct with how it's telling its theme. It is very complex, and I expected the Civil War to be the exact same way. So what did I expect in this movie? I expected it to be a very big action flick with also very complex ideologies, which we got to a degree, but really didn't get a lot of the action side of things. Mainly, the biggest thing that really let people down was the marketing for the movie. The marketing for this film is some of the best and also some of the worst in the entire year, specifically because the marketing for the film, the way they're doing it, how they have soldiers in the Statue of Liberty shooting down at people, that's just absolutely incredible. The fact that they have helicopters and people fighting on Capitol Hill, that's also just insanely crazy to even see. But the main thing that people had a problem with as well was the fact that they use AI in their marketing as well. And AI right now has been a very hot topic, especially for films, because AI really shouldn't belong in movies. And also, just like with last year, the way that we had the writer strike and actor strike, having a really list of agreements being heavily against AI, them using AI for marketing wasn't that harmful, but was a little bit harmful because of just really the bad timing of it. And also just because the marketing for the movie, none of it really happens in the actual film. Like even the AI stuff, none of these shots are in the entire movie at all whatsoever. Even the shot, like I said, with the people shooting down inside the Statue of Liberty, that shot never happens, and that's really bad because it feels like a little bit of clickbait to a degree. I'm 20 years old. I grew up in an era where YouTube clickbait was getting very bad. Even right now, clickbait on YouTube hasn't been exactly terrible, but clickbait back then in the prime of clickbaity movies and TV shows on YouTube and stuff was not in any way a good thing at all. It was really bad. So seeing that here, it felt like a little bit of a betrayal to the audience because, on one hand, the marketing is super cool. Whole lot of fun. It's really awesome. Yet none of it happens in the movie, which is a very big problem. But still, I want to go into the movie for what it was. The marketing was definitely a very big fuel to the fire of, yes, this is a very big action flick. But in reality, it wasn't that at all, which is okay, but still, it felt very harmful, didn't do a lot of good for the movie. So now going into my very first watch of the entire movie, I watched it a little bit later than everyone else. I think I watched it the second week after, maybe. I saw this movie on, it says April 19th, so that was a little bit of a week after the movie came out. So, yeah, I saw the movie, non-IMAX, but kind of whatever, it doesn't matter, not a lot of action anyway. And my takeaway from the movie is that it's not a Civil War movie, which is okay, but the movie is more so, I think, a deconstruction of why we obsess over graphic media and war photography. Also, a movie about our obsession with just our career and passion. But it's a Civil War movie that's not exactly about the Civil War. Instead, this is more so a film that's more of a fun road trip movie that has a Civil War as a backdrop. The thing that I was saying with this movie before, and even now today, is that this movie can be set inside of Africa, or China, or Japan, or really anywhere where there's some kind of war or conflict going on, or even like Syria, or Gaza, whatever. That can happen. This movie can happen in any different country or setting, and not much would change, if anything at all, which is really, I guess, a good and a bad thing. Like I said, it's a movie called Civil War being released in 2024, an election year, with all this incredible action marketing, yet we don't even know why the Civil War started. That's, in my opinion, a little bit of a problem, and it's something that's a very just missed opportunity. Now, like I said before, I'm going to critique the film based on what it was, not what I wanted it to be. That's a very flawed way to critique a movie. Like I always say, I talk about it all the time with like Zack Snyder stuff. When people critique Batman vs. Superman or Man of Steel, they say that those films are bad because it's not what they wanted it to be instead of saying what it was. So the movie itself is not the Civil War film that I wanted it to be, but still, I think like looking at it on its own, it's still, I think, a very good movie, very complex, great themes, great characters, great cinematography, great soundtrack, great all that stuff together. It's very good, yet still, it's not about Civil War, which does, like I said, feels almost like a false marketing kind of movie, which is very bad for the audience. It feels like a level of betrayal. I don't like it at all. Not good. But still, like I said, for what it is, I like it. For what I want it to be, it doesn't do that. Feels like a heavy betrayal. And the movie isn't definitely exactly vacant from action sequences. There are a little bit of action scenes, maybe like 4 or 5 action scenes, I'd say. There are some cool stuff in the ending of the movie. There's some very cool close quarters combat stuff, which is very fun. Very loud stuff in there too, which is very realistic. But still, there needed to be more, I think, of action, more of why the Civil War happening. Who knows? I mean, yeah, a lot of stuff needs to happen, but still, it didn't really do that. But, I'm not exactly mad about it not being a Civil War movie. I'm just mad that, they really did promise something, but it really wasn't that at all. So now, just continuing with the timeline here of my experience with this movie. Like I said, January, very hyped for it. Saw it inside of April. It was okay, not bad, but not great either. Gave it 8 out of 10, so it's not exactly a bad movie. Then, here comes November, and for obvious reasons, this movie is obviously trending a little bit because of the election. People are watching this movie on election night, and also talking about how the film is a mirror of America. So I saw this on Twitter, and once again, I don't know if I even mentioned it at all, but still, the day after the election, was like Twitter was literally a dumpster fire, and I was on there like scrolling for like hours by just how much arguing there was. It was very bad. But still, I saw a few tweets of people talking about Civil War and how the Civil War is going to be a mirror of America. It's going to be America because Trump won, and all these different things in there and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. This movie's trending for obvious reasons, and now I get a chance to finally talk about it in a full episode. So that's why I'm here. And like I always do with every single episode, I go into my writer's room, my like desk in my office. That's really all it is. But still, I go into my quote-unquote writer's room, and then I start having just concepts of how this episode should be and what I want to do in this episode, because if I'm doing a Civil War episode in election year, maybe the last time I ever do this podcast ever, who knows, inside of election year, maybe the last time, I don't know, but still, if I'm doing this kind of episode, I want to get it right. I feel like I have a job to get this episode right, and that's when the first draft of this episode came about, and the first draft, I think, was with good intention, but still with the first draft, I think I had some pretty bad ignorance. The first draft was, I think, just very ignorant. It wasn't exactly what it needed to be, so I had to scrap the first draft entirely and really just go back to think of exactly what it really should be for this episode to be very good. And in my first draft of the episode, I was really more so arguing against the fact that Civil War is more of a cautionary tale. I was thinking to myself that people shouldn't be using this film to express their opinion because we don't know how the Civil War started in Civil War, so it's not very accurate. But then, I kind of realized that's kind of dumb to say because people can use Dune as a thing to how we choose bad leaders and how that can lead to bad things. But yet Dune Part 2 is completely fiction and takes place years, centuries in the future. So, yeah, it's not really fair to say that people can do that with Dune Part 2, but not with Civil War, which is more recent and more current because it takes place in 5-10 years. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. But, still, I was very firm on this first draft, but still, it felt a little bit wrong to me. Because it doesn't really make sense for someone to take a film like Over the Hedge. Over the Hedge is a more so, let's say, kids movie with talking animals. But yet, if you want to say Over the Hedge is a movie about classism and all of this bad poverty and government and really the whole patriarchy thing, you can make that argument with Over the Hedge and how it's a movie about just how toxic capitalism can be. Yet Over the Hedge is a movie about talking raccoons and talking turtles and skunks and squirrels. That doesn't make a lot of sense though, but still, you can, like I said, make an accurate argument that Over the Hedge is about that in America and use it to benefit your argument. Yet Civil War shouldn't be, in my eyes, in the first draft, which didn't make a lot of sense at all because that felt very ignorant. It didn't feel exactly right to say. So, like I said, I completely scrapped the first draft of this episode, and then second draft came about to life, and it felt more right to me. I did more research on the director's intentions, Alec Garland, and the whole entire thing just really became more clear to me. So now, like I said, finally, gloriously comes a good act to a good script second draft for this episode that really does feel more right. It really does feel more fleshed out. That the movie is a cautionary tale and that you can use it for political settings, but in my opinion, people still may be using this movie wrong for the wrong reasons and just using it in a bad way. So in my second draft, this movie is a cautionary tale, but it is a warning on the future of America that doesn't really give any kind of catering to Democrats or Republicans, more so just flat out America, all of us, every single one of us. If you're an American, this is a warning to you. Yes, you listen to this, or if you're Australian, yeah, sure, that also works too. But listen, the thing with this movie is that it has a lot of different things that really can tell us that Civil War isn't right. We shouldn't be using this movie to instead fuel the fire of division. We should be using this movie to find common ground and really bring us together and united instead of just separating us and causing this unneeded tension in America. And the thing that's really good with this movie is that there's definitely a lot of, in this world and lore of Civil War, there's definitely a lot of big political figures and big figures that are leading all these sides in the war, but yet we don't ever see them. We don't ever hear of them. We only see all these things through the eyes of civilians and eyes of journalists, which is also very cool, like I said in the movie. But through the eyes of journalists and everything, we get to see all these things, all these inside looks to one, I guess, also how journalism has influenced a lot of America, but also we get to see just how horrific a civil war can be in reality, that we shouldn't even be saying the word civil war in America just for the risk of having more division and more bad things that just have more of a chance to happen. And also seeing that there's a definitely very clear societal division inside of Civil War with no clear sides at all. We don't know exactly who's right or wrong, which can be, like I said, a very bad thing because I don't know exactly how the Civil War started in a movie called Civil War. That can be, a little bit unresponsible, but still I think it's more so a point to the fact that the war has been going on for so long that we don't know how it started. We don't even really care at this point. We just want the war to be over, and also that we don't even know exactly who's on what side, who's right or wrong. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really exactly matter because at the end of the day, it's still Americans killing other Americans, which is just absolutely horrific and just horrendously bad. To see this kind of movie, it's definitely very horrific for all the right reasons, and having all these sides in the movie, but we have the Western Front and all that. We don't exactly know. It's all kind of blurred between American fighting American and all these combat scenes, which is also, like I said, just very sad to see. And, it is also very clearly a warning to political extremism and also an abuse of power, to where us as Americans, as a society, we do have the power to vote for who we want to. And it is important to definitely do our research as well. But also, it's important to just really understand that everyone should also vote in America, how it definitely does impact everyone, whether you want it to or not. In the Civil War impacts everyone. There's no exactly winner or losers, and everyone is definitely impacted in some kind of way, whether that's positive or negative. I think that really mostly actually is all just negative. We see like a Walmart blown up inside of this movie. Imagine you want to go to Barnes & Noble, it's just blown up, turned into a combat zone. I would actually cry there on the ground if that actually happened. And it's definitely also even more telling that Alec Garland wrote this movie, Civil War, in 2020, where society was just at an all-time high for tension with BLM, and also we had COVID-19. There was a lot of tension there as well, which is very scary, but this kind of movie does remind everyone that it's not even exactly worth it to have that kind of tension for really no reason. Yes, you can fight for what you want to, you can believe in what you want to believe in, but it's important for us to really find common ground on something, anything at all, whether it's films or photography or some kind of political idea or ideology. Find a way to find some kind of common ground and not let it divide you. Just please, that's the most important thing with this movie and the thing that makes it the most brilliant. This is a film titled Civil War, but the Civil War inside the movie is more so telling us about the Civil War that can and may be happening right now that doesn't even need to be happening. And Thanksgiving is happening in next week here, so it definitely is going to be a very central spot for politics. But if you're going to be in Thanksgiving this year, then I urge you to discuss Civil War, discuss the movie, watch the movie first, obviously, then discuss the movie. This film is definitely through the eyes of journalists who definitely have to document everything. I think we should take that more approach to a lot of things we do in life in general. So that's very important. Talk about Civil War, discuss it in a right way that I said before. But still, this movie is brilliant. It's brilliant in many different ways. My final score for the movie is a B- or a B in general. It's not exactly a B+. There's some things the movie does a little bit wrong, but still overall, the movie's brilliant. Some of those are brilliant cinema of the entire decade, and I love it a lot. And that's really the main episode. That's really all it was. I didn't even exactly mention the movie itself, but the film's great. Kaylee Spaney's beautiful, but outside of that, it's time to go into our superlatives, which is the, awards show of the entire show here. So I'm going to be going to the awards, MVP, best scene, all that boring jazz stuff. So the episode's over. So if you want to leave right now, you can. Go ahead by all means. But if you want to stay, congrats. You're about to have a lot more fun than the other guy who just left. But, it's cool. So superlative starting in about 3 seconds here, so stay tuned.
You are a blowfish.
What? Lady, whatever you're selling, I ain't buying, yo.
Well, my name is Skylar White, yo.
Can I get a spot? Okay.
Okay, so starting off with our awards here, what is a scene stealer? What is the best scene in the entire movie? And in my opinion, the very best scene in Civil War is the ending. Like I said, that incredible CQB stuff going on. It's a whole lot of fun. A whole great scene. I love the loudness of that scene as well. And just the way it's lit. Also, taking place through the White House. Whole lot of fun. Well, not fun. It's actually very tragic, but still, it's a very cool sequence that's shot very well and choreographed even better. And as for my favorite quote in the entire movie, it is, "What kind of an American are you?" from Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons is, I think, one of the best supporting actors of all time. It doesn't matter what film he's in. The film can be really bad, but Jesse Plemons is just a different level of a good actor. He's just so good. I know if you're a Breaking Bad guy, it's definitely more of a Breaking Bad guy for you, but still, watch his other stuff out there. Watch Kills of the Flower Moon. It's like 4 hours long, but still very worth it. Watch Civil War if you haven't already. I mean, not sure what you're doing here if you haven't. Definitely watch a movie like El Camino, very good as well. Breaking Bad also just is very good. And then another movie that he's really good in is The Irishman. Irishman also like 5 hours long, but still definitely worth it. Jesse Plemons, great character, great actor. And then for my next award is who is the best side character in the entire movie. And that also goes to Jesse Plemons' character, who is, yeah, I know he has one scene in the movie, but when it comes to films here, Jesse Plemons is like that one meme to where the time in the club is very low, but the impact in the club is extremely high. That's who he is in this movie. That's who he is all the time. He can never miss. He's absolutely incredible. But if there's a runner-up, if you want a runner-up for the best side character, it would be Kaylee Spaney's character. I just love her. That's the only reason why. She's awesome as well. For a second here in the year, my top pick for best supporting actress or best lead actress was definitely Kristen Dunst. She's really good in this movie, like very good. A lot of the time, I understand we've all seen Spider-Man, but she's a really good actress. Like, she's actually really good at acting. It's actually kind of scary. I mean, look at the movies like Virgin Suicide, Eternal Sunshine, Spotless Mind, Jumanji, also Civil War. She's a great actress. I kind of forget about it sometimes. She's actually really good. So, yeah, Kirsten Dunst as well. Great actress all around this movie. Great acting. It's actually very good. It's actually kind of scary. So, that's awesome. But our main best side character is definitely Jesse Plemons' character. He's great one scene, but still, that scene is absolutely perfect. I love it. Great scene. One of the best scenes of the entire year. Definitely. Top 5 or top 4 at least. And of course, we have our MVP. But before the MVP, we do have our Buzz from the Backlot. What is Buzz from the Backlot? It's just film fun facts. That's all it is. Nothing fancy. Film fun facts that are very good and very fun. And I love all of these. I have about 3 fun facts here, but they're all very good. This movie is jam-packed full of just great, fun things to discuss, so I'll start diving into them. For our first fun fact, we have to immerse the actors in the movie. The production used full blanks for the gunfire, as opposed to half-quarter or quarter blanks, resulting in a discharge as loud as a real gunfire, which I can definitely say is real, because the end of the movie, like I said, the last scene in the entire film is very loud. You have to ride the controller with that one for sure, because the movie's going to be going into very high peaks in your sound system, which I think was very immersive and very good. Also, like I said, for the actors, it does feel real. It does feel very loud, also, like I said. So I love that. The full blanks there, it's very good. And for our second fun fact here, we do have a very fun one, like I said. We have that Jesse Plemons joined the cast of the movie just days before he was supposed to act in his scene, because the original actor dropped out of the movie. And his wife, Kirsten Dunst, recommended Plemons to the director, Alec Garland, and definitely a incredible recommendation. In my opinion, if he wins the best actor, I'll take it. I'll vote for him myself if he does. I mean, I definitely could expect that for sure. He was great in this movie. Just that one scene, like I said, was so good. Go watch it back if you haven't already. That was a great scene. I love it. I'm not going to lie, the Jesse Plemons glaze is going a little bit crazy right now, but it's definitely worth it. He's a great actor. I love him in everything he's actually in, so I need more of him. Jesse Plemons, the best actor of all time. I don't care what you say. And for the very last fun factor for Civil War, we have on his single day of filming for this scene in the movie, Jesse Plemons intentionally avoided interacting with the rest of the cast beforehand and stayed in character the entire time they were on location, which, like I said, the dedication by this guy, he's a GOAT of all time. He's a top 5 actor of all time. Jesse Plemons, the narrative for him being best supporting actor starts right now. I don't care what you say. I'm all here for it. I'm voting for myself. Jesse Plemons for president 2028. All right, and definitely with a Jesse Plemons filled Buzz from the Backlot out of the way, we do have our MVP. Finally, what is the MVP? This is the most valued guy or gal in the entire movie. We've had a lot of great winners, mostly Hugh Jackman because of the X-Men movies, but still, our MVP for Civil War goes to none other than Wagner Moura in this movie. He is the main guy here, one of the main journalists there in the movie. He isn't known that much for anything, but still, Wagner Moura is a great actor. He was actually very good in the movie. He's still a performance that I'm still thinking about to this day. I mean, I saw Civil War. If you've seen Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, he's the wolf in that movie. So yeah, he knows how to do his stuff here, and he's absolutely great. I'm praying for more roles for this guy. He's a really good actor, really great job. But if he still keeps making movies like The Gray Man, he's not going to get very far. But I hope that he gets a movie in like a Tarantino film one day. hopefully he has the chops for it for sure. I'm going to invest a little bit early in this Wagner Moura stock here. I'm going to invest like 5 mil in it, but that's how much I trust him. He's going to do a great job. And also a little bit more in Jesse Plemons stock as well, but that's kind of obvious. But with that out of the way, that's going to just about do it for today's episode. A very fun, jam-packed episode for Civil War 2024. That's in the books, in the wraps. We're absolutely done with it. What you can expect for the show as the next few weeks go by is a Arcane Act 3 on Monday. We have at least Gladiator 2 maybe on Tuesday. If I'm really in the mood for it, then I will, but might end up doing that on Tuesday. On Wednesday for Thanksgiving Eve, I really want to do Where the Wild Things Are. I'm going to try to record that on Friday, and then actually maybe this Friday I might do a kind of reaction to the new How to Train Your Dragon trailer that we got, and just how live action movies are kind of just definitely overstaying their welcome a little bit here. But the new How to Train Your Dragon trailer, I see the vision, but I'm not quite sure if I'm all on board for it, so I may talk about that a little bit here as well. Just a very quick little episode, maybe like 10 minutes, just to kind of get my thoughts out of there. But we'll just have to see. Until next time, stay swagged out, stay cool, watch more movies, watch Arcane, watch Gladiator 2, watch Where the Wild Things Are for next week. And as always, I'm your host Logan, and I'll see you boys in the movie.